Back to the show, Senator Marsha Blackburn from Senate Armed Services. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. Your reaction to the breaking news: the Supreme Court just temporarily blocked the White House getting rid of Title 42 after 19 GOP-led states appealed to the High Court. What's your reaction to that story?
It was an appropriate response, and I'm glad that the court put the stay in place, because every town is a border town, every state is a border state at this point. And people have been so concerned with what was going to happen. You had the mayor of El Paso saying there's only so much that we can take. And you see that across the border. And then in our communities, you've got your sheriffs, your local elected officials who are saying, look, this cost us a lot of money when there are those that have illegally entered the country, and we're to take care of social services and health care and education. The cost really does add up. So regardless of what the press secretary at the White House thinks, the border is not secure, and people are flooding across that border. And we have all seen the encampments of people waiting to come over in anticipation of Title 42 ending.
Chief Justice Roberts gave the DOJ until tomorrow at 5 p.m. to respond. We don't know if the High Court could issue a final order to keep Title 42 before it expires Wednesday. To your point, El Paso did declare an emergency disaster, and the White House estimates up to 15,000 border crossings a day, but still no specific plan from the White House to fix all of this. We've got stunning images pouring in right now, Senator.
You're right, but see, they refuse to admit that there is a problem. And it is such an inappropriate type response. Everyone can see this is a problem. People in their communities are seeing all the fentanyl that is flooding communities, that is killing people, especially our young people. You know, when you look at the cause of death and you're looking at preteens and teens up to 24 years old, young people up to 24 years of age, the second leading cause of death is related to all of these drug traffickers, and people are saying, hey, wait a minute, we've got to do something about this.
Yep.
So it's time to secure that border.
So, you know, the accusations against the White House is the president has taken it upon himself to do an end run around Congress and rewrite, you know, constitutional law here about the border. I mean, Senator Joe Manchin says he thinks the president could ask for an extension. Congress could pass emergency legislation. But, you know, there's gridlock here. We'd like your reaction to Texas Democrat Henry Cuellar on President Biden not visiting the border. You're going to see White House advisor Keisha Bottoms cite the president's busy schedule here. Watch this.
A leader has to show images of being up there in the front.
Well, you have to remember, Margaret, when the president travels, it's not like you or I jumping on an airplane and getting off and going to our destination. Everything comes to a halt. So all of these things are in consideration for the president. Is that the best use of resources? All of the resources that will be diverted on the ground when the president makes a visit.
The criticism has been that the president has never been to the border since he's been in D.C. since the Nixon era, but he's been to his beach home in Delaware for nearly 200 days out of his presidency already. Well, would everything really grind to a halt if he went there? It seems like it would be a morale booster.
It would indeed be a morale booster if you had either the president or the vice president go. If there were to be serious discussion about how to secure that border, think about these Border Patrol agents and their families and the communities that are there along the border. Think about these families that are losing loved ones because of drug traffickers, human traffickers, sex traffickers, gangs, crime in the communities that are gang-related. All of this has a tie back to that border, our nation's sovereignty. Does the president not think that protecting that sovereignty is important? You can't be a sovereign nation if you do not have a border, if you do not control who comes in and into your country, and if you have an open border, all-come policy.
You know, the White House calls criticism of Biden's border policy, quote, political stunts. Watch Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in 2019 say that the conditions at the border are inhumane. Watch this.
We have done the work from this administration by securing record funding, and we are asking Congress to act. We are not asking for political stunts. We continue to see political stunts from many Republicans out there.
What we saw today was unconscionable. No child should ever be separated from their parent. No child should ever be taken from their family. No woman should ever be locked up in a pen when they have done no harm.
I guess I should go down, but the whole point of it is I haven't had a whole hell of a lot of time to get down.
Why go to a border state and not visit the border?
Because there's a more important thing going on. They're going to invest billions of dollars in a new enterprise.
Okay, law enforcement in Central and South America warned that thousands of women and children are raped and killed coming to the border illegally every year. And so that's not an issue for the White House right now, not an issue for AOC and the squad right now, not an issue for Senator Elizabeth Warren?
It should be a top issue for them because it truly is a humanitarian crisis. And when you look at the way these young girls are treated, the way many of them are raped, the number of services they need when they get here because they've been so badly mistreated, it is a humanitarian crisis. The president and the vice president should get down there. They should make it known that our border is going to be secure. There is a process if you want to come into the United States. Open border is not that process.
Senator Blackburn, thanks for joining us, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you and yours.